The Roaring Twenties. In the midst of jazz and jubilation, 1925 delivered more than music. A continent away in Africa, a fossil emerged that would rewrite the story of our species. In a forgotten corner of 1920s Johannesburg, a young anatomist would soon hold a fossil that defied everything science thought it knew. The London anthropology elite dismissed it as fantasy, but Raymond Dart held his ground. Quarrymen near Johannesburg had unearthed the fossil, small, strange, and deeply human. Dart's student Josephine Salmons spotted it first, tucked among trinkets in a quarry supervisor's desk, a primate skull, unlabeled, unstudied. Holding history in her hands, she told the quarryman supervisor, "I think this is something Dr. Dart should see." On the day of his best friend's wedding, held in Dart's own home, amid all the havoc and hubbub, a parcel waited on his porch. For the next 60 days, Dart secluded himself in his office. He carved the skull with his wife's knitting needles, releasing it from the breccia. Dart knew instantly it wasn't a monkey or a baboon. It was a hominid. And the tell? The foramen magnum centered beneath the skull, whispered of upright stride and human lineage. Dart dashed off his hypothesis and fired it into nature, a bold move that would ignite decades of debate. The London Anthropological Society wasted no time. Dart's paper was dismissed outright, too African-centric, too audacious. Rejected by the establishment, Dart became more determined to prove his case. He carried the skull to London to be presented at their annual conference. In 1926, while attending the conference where Dart was set to present the Tong Child to the world, Dart's wife left the skull in a box in the backseat of a taxi. The skull rode alone all night, unnoticed. It was recovered by the authorities the next morning, unharmed, but Dart left the conference dejected. By the late 1940s, Piltdown Man was unraveling, a hoax exposed. London reevaluated Dart's fossil. This time, they listened. The new genus was declared in 1953, as Dart had originally named it Australopithecus, the southern ape who walked like a man. Paranthropus. Paranthropus represents a robust side branch of the Australopithecines, characterized by 3 species with broad cheekbones and powerful jaw muscles, adapted for heavy plant chewing. Smithsonian. Paranthropus robustus is an example of a robust Australopithecine. They had very large megadont cheek teeth with thick enamel and focused their chewing in the back of the jaw for strong chewing muscles, and gave Paranthropus robustus individuals their characteristically wide dish-shaped face. In 1938, a schoolboy in the South African outback named Geert de Blanche was wandering the limestone caves near Kromdraai. One afternoon, he stumbled upon a few loose teeth, yellowed, heavy, and baboon-like. He mentioned them to the adults in town. Word reached Robert Broom. He was a close friend and colleague of Raymond Dart. Broom was a defiant researcher, notorious for challenging scientific orthodoxy. Broom raced to the grammar school, determined to pull Gert out of class and retrace his steps. But the headmaster refused, unless Broom first gave a full lecture on paleoanthropology to the assembled students. So before he could chase the fossil trail, Broom stood before the student body, spinning tales of ancient bones and vanished species to a room full of school children. Broom and young Gert raced back to the site. They found more than fragments. They found a jawbone, a full mandible. Broom was elated. He had made the discovery of a lifetime. It was a seismic moment in paleoanthropology. Broom saw in the mandible a hominid more robust than Dart's Australopithecus Africanus. He named it Paranthropus robustus, carving a new genus into the fossil record, and with it a new chapter in the story of human origins. But the story didn't end with Broom in South Africa. The trail of Paranthropus shifted north into the deserts of East Africa. Lewis and Mary Leakey. July of 1959, at Olduvai Gorge, Tanzania, Mary Leakey uncovered Paranthropus boisei, like Broom's robustus, but distinct morphology. Under the blistering Tanzanian sun, Mary Leakey was out walking her Dalmatians while Lewis lay ill with a bout of malaria back in camp. That's when she spotted two molars jutting from the sediment at Olduvai Gorge. What she unearthed was astonishing: a shattered skull with massive jaws. The discovery of Paranthropus boisei, Zinj for short, was at the time the oldest hominid ever found, believed to be over 2 million years old. After 29 years scurrying through the deserts of Kenya and Tanzania, Mary and Lewis Leakey had finally unearthed their dear boy, the maker of the Olduvai stone tools. 4 years later, Lewis and Mary Leakey, joined by their son Jonathan, would return to Olduvai Gorge and unearth something even more provocative: Homo habilis, some teeth and a mandible, just meters away from the Zinj site. Major discovery in the Ethiopian desert. In 1974, Donald Johanson and a team of young researchers uncovered one of the most iconic hominin fossils at Hadar, Ethiopia. It was a find that would reshape our entire understanding of human origins. Johanson, Tom Gray, and two geologists took the Land Rover out one sweltering morning searching for fossil. Gray and Johanson turned down a gully. Johanson spotted a bone fragment over his shoulder, a hominid shin bone. Johanson, quote, "If I had looked the other way, I would have missed it," end quote. They quickly found other bones in the sediment. As Johanson later recounted it, the pair literally jumped up in the air and danced an Irish jig. That night, there was a huge celebration back at camp. Johanson, quote, "We were celebrating. Everyone was blown out of their minds. Some students had snuck in some beer," end quote. During the all-night party, Tom Gray's girlfriend bestowed the name Lucy on the fossil, from the Beatles' "Lucy in the Sky with Diamonds." Sgt. Pepper had been playing on cassette tape in continuous rotation. As for who Pam Alderman was dating at the time, Gray or Johansson, that depends on who's telling the story. Johansson did say twice in a recent interview here at YouTube that he was dating her. A year later, Johansson and his team returned to Hadar, and the ground gave up more secrets. Scattered across the sediments were fossil bones from 11 individuals. Australopithecines of varying ages. They called it the first family. Smithsonian. Between 3.9 million and 2.9 million years ago, these early humans lived among the woodlands and forests of eastern Africa, in habitats where saber-toothed cats, elephants with strange tusks, ancient rhinos, and other prehistoric beasts roamed. Continuing, the fossils indicated that these Australopithecines stood and walked upright, despite having some characteristics in the skull and limbs that appeared more ape-like. Smithsonian, quote, Lucy is one of the first celebrity fossils. Everyone knows and loves Lucy, end quote, says science historian Lydia Pine. Accidental discovery at Laetoli. The famous Laetoli footprints. A year after Johansson's magnificent find, a different team led by Mary Leakey found early human trackways in rocks of similar age at Laetoli, Tanzania. Footprints eventually attributed to Australopithecus Afarensis. Some college interns on Mary Leakey's team had been clowning around, tossing elephant dung at each other. One of the students tossing the dung was Andrew Hill. He would later become a renowned and distinguished anthropology professor at Yale University. Hill tripped and tumbled into a shallow ditch. As he steadied himself, he glanced down. Imprinted in the sand rock were ancient animal footprints. He ran to alert his PhD advisor, Mary Leakey. The Laetoli footprints froze a fleeting moment in time. Two hominins walking side by side across volcanic ash, and in doing so, they etched the earliest known evidence of upright walking into the fossil record. Discovery of the first Australopithecines. Divergence with our chimpanzee cousins occurred 7 million years ago. The putative specimen representing the first hominid after our split with the chimpanzees is Sahelanthropus chilensis, discovered by a French team led by Michel Brunet in the Chad Desert in 1998. Some fossils are cursed, not by spirits but by the weight of conflicting narratives. The femur near Toomai is one such relic. For a vivid breakdown of the controversy, Erica Gutzik-Gibbons' This Fossil is Cursed is a masterclass in paleo storytelling. After Toomai's desert silence, Arroyan tugenensis strides through Kenya's ancient highlands, 6.1 to 5.8 million years ago. Discovered by the husband and wife team Martin Pickford and Bridget Senu in 1999. Arroyan is followed by the Ardipithecines, Ramidus and Kadabra 4.6 to 4.2 million years ago, whose mosaic anatomy gestures toward upright ambition but stops short of the Australopithecine stride. Australopithecus Anamensis. In 1994, Meve Leakey and her team discovered a suite of bone fragments at Kanapoi, Kenya, identifying Australopithecus anamensis. The species is the oldest known Australopithecine, dating back to 4.2 million years ago. A year later, Dr. Haile Selassie discovered a nearly complete cranium of Australopithecus Anamensis in Ethiopia. A local Afar goat herder had first spotted the skull and alerted Haile Selassie. The professor literally had to get down on his hands and knees to gather pieces of the skull, searching through piles of goat dung. Leakey has suggested that Anamensis offers a more definitive morphological bridge between Miocene apes and later hominins than either Arti or Toomai, quietly hinting at a fossil-era rivalry for the title of first hominid. Australopithecus Sediba was discovered in 2008 by 9-year-old Matthew Berger, son of paleoanthropologist Lee Berger, after Matthew stumbled over a fossil-bearing rock near Malapa Cave in South Africa. Matthew had been chasing his dog Tao down a path near the cave. Young Matthew's discovery was even featured on CBS 60 Minutes that year. The last Australopithecus Sediba is dated at 1.9 million years ago, and it may have walked alongside early Homo. Its mystery stretches far beyond extinction. Both Lee Berger and John Hawkes have been coy about the possibility of recovering DNA from the two Australopithecus Sediba specimens, but the whispers persist. We may soon glimpse their genetic code. As we shall soon see in future videos on this channel, genetic ghosts of Sediba may have survived in contemporary African populations. Australopithecus morphology. The Australopithecines stood about 4 to 5 feet tall and weighed about 60 to 110 pounds. They had broad hips for walking. They had strong shoulders and curved fingers, still echoing life among the branches. The Australopiths had reduced canines, larger molars, and thicker enamel, marking a shift in diet, roots, nuts, tubers, and social signaling, including diminished male aggression. Australopithecus brains range from about 400 to 550 cubic centimeters, roughly 1/3 the size of modern humans. But the brain size was large enough to hint at tool use, social structure, and the early stirrings of symbolic thought. Lithics of the Australopiths. In 1960, Louis Leakey declared Paranthropus the Olduvai toolmaker, but 4 years later he reversed course and crowned Homo habilis instead. Now it appears we've come full circle. The first toolmaker may have been an Australopithecine after all. The Lamoquai stone tools discovered in 2011 by Joshua Lewis and Sonia Harman near Lake Turkana are dated at 3.3 million years ago. Quite ironically, they are both affiliated with the Leakey Foundation. The most likely toolmaker is Australopithecus afarensis, but Kenyanthropus platypes or a ghost lineage remain a possibility. The team, led by Queens College professor and Leakey Foundation fellow Thomas Plummer, unearthed Olduvai tools dating to 2.6 to 3 million years ago, alongside Paranthropus fossils at Nyanga, Kenya, suggesting this robust hominid may have wielded stone tools to butcher hippos. Missing links in Africa? In the 1800s and well into the 1900s, European explorers believed that Africans represented a primitive stage of human development. Many saw them as living missing links on the evolutionary tree. French explorers in particular remarked on the morphology of certain African tribes, body proportions, facial features, and gait, as resembling apes. Some interpreted these traits as signs of evolutionary stagnation. Raymond Dart's successor at Wits spent decades traveling southern Africa searching for the ape-man missing link. Unique genetics, endangered legacy. African DNA shows clear evidence of its central role in the long branching story of human evolution. Geneticists have found that Africa contains the greatest diversity within the human genome. Some geneticists have even traced the genetic divergence of certain African populations to as far back as 200,000 to 300,000 years ago, with enticing hints that their separate lineage could go back even millions of years. Stay tuned for more on the deeply archaic genetic roots of Africans coming soon to this channel, including some very surprising evidence. This channel, walking in the footsteps of the great early anthropologists, will boldly follow the trail of the evidence, no matter where it may lead. Thank you for watching. We'll see you soon.